Yo, what's going on, YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy, Kevin Forte. And guys, I am pumped right now. I am pumped because the NHL trade deadline has officially begun, and we haven't even gotten to Monday yet. And this is kind of like opening the Christmas gifts, like your parents give you a couple gifts before Christmas, except these are the big ticket items, right? And we are talking about some massive trades, and the Anaheim Ducks made two pretty significant trades to their roster today, so we'll be going over those. So let's get right into it. So the first one is a little bit of a lesser trade that builds up the momentum to the second trade, and we've been seeing teams do that a lot. The Panthers did that, the Avalanche have already done that. And now we're seeing the Anaheim Ducks do that, except they're selling. The first trade, the Anaheim Ducks send Nicolas Deslaurier to the Minnesota Wild in exchange for a 2023 third round pick. Nicolas Deslaurier is going to add a little bit of that aggression to the Minnesota Wild, and a team that is fairly, I guess you could argue with, I think, is Ryan Hartman still there? That's the only real tough guy that the Minnesota Wild have. Adding Nick Deslaurier, he is a tough guy. He is not going to be afraid of anybody in the NHL. A great addition here for the Wild. It was pretty expensive, though. A third round pick, I think that's a fair value in terms of what he brings in the locker room as a player on the ice. But this is a guy, I mean, you look at his point production, he only has 10 points in 61 games this season, but he's got 90 penalty minutes. He is a fighter. He is your agitator. A great addition to the Minnesota Wild lineup. And again, it adds a little bit of flavor other than just the pure skill and speed. I think that's a great addition. Nicolas Deslaurier, 31 years old. Like I said, he has 10 points this season, but you're not getting him for the points. Let's be honest, that's just the reality of his NHL, the way he plays. He's 14 games away from hitting 500 games in the NHL, which is a pretty significant milestone considering the role he plays. He is getting paid $1 million for the remainder of this season, and he will be an unrestricted free agent, so he'll likely come in as a deadline rental. The Minnesota Wild gave up only a third round pick, and then likely that is the end of the story with Deslaurier. Barring things really go on great terms and things work out, maybe he sticks around past this season, but as of now, it's a rental move by Bill Guerin. So that's the first little bit of action we've seen from the Minnesota Wild, and they've been tied to a couple of different players, so interesting that that's the move they made first. Then that leads us to the big trade, and the big trade is the Anaheim Ducks again striking twice today, making a massive trade with the Boston Bruins. The Boston Bruins acquired defenseman Hampus Lindholm and Cody Curran. In exchange, the Anaheim Ducks acquire a plethora of assets, 5 total assets: Euro Vakinainen and John Moore, 2 defensemen, a 2022 Boston first round pick, a 2023 second round pick, and a 2024 second round draft pick. So let's break this down from each angle. So from the Anaheim Ducks, what do the Ducks get in this trade? So the Anaheim Ducks acquire 2 defensemen, a veteran defenseman in John Moore. John Moore has played a lot of hockey in the NHL. He has played in over 500 games in the league. He has spent most of this season with the Providence Bruins, picking up 6 points in 11 games, and he only has 1 assist in 7 games with the Bees this season. His contract doesn't end till next summer, but the Anaheim Ducks are, not that they're rebuilding, but they know they're not going to have the money to keep Hampus Lindholm. That was all part of the equation, and the fact they didn't want to give him the duration in the deal. So John Moore, his salary comes the other way, $2.75 million for John Moore through the rest of this season into next season. Like I said, the summer of 2023 will be the end of his contract, so they have another year left of John Moore. Like I said, 500 games in the league, 31 years old. He is a pretty solid defenseman, but again, maybe not worth that $2.75 million price tag. They also pick up another defenseman, Euro Vakanainen. Vakanainen is a pretty good prospect. He was drafted in the first round back in 2017 from the Boston Bruins. He was the 18th overall selection from Joensuu, Finland. He's 23 years old, and really since he's come to North America, has been bouncing back and forth between the NHL and the AHL in the American League. This season, he spent 23 games in Providence with the Providence Bruins, picking up 8 points. And in the NHL, he has yet to score a goal in the NHL. He picked up 15 games this season with the Bruins and picked up 4 assists. He has 6 assists in his career through 31 games, and like I said, has yet to register a goal. There's been a lot of talk about Euro Vakanainen over the past, really since the beginning of the regular season, that maybe he wasn't going to be a fit for the Boston Bruins. And that kind of seems to be the sentiment. And now he has been traded. He's going to get an opportunity. He's a left shot defenseman to go play with the Anaheim Ducks. I think this is a great chance for him. At still 23 years old, the ceiling of him maybe becoming a second pairing defenseman probably could be put back on the table. With that said, they also pick up draft picks. So they pick up the 2 defensemen, Euro Vakanainen and John Moore. They also pick up a 2022 first round pick. Let me check real quick. I just want to make sure that pick is not protected, because that is something to consider here. Now, the Bruins are likely going to make the Stanley Cup playoffs, so that's probably not that big of a deal. So the pick was traded away. There's no conditions on that draft pick. That is a gone pick for them. Let's see. Anaheim. Let's see. Here we go. Okay. They also acquired the second round picks, which again, also non-conditional. So those are pure draft picks. So 3 draft picks in the first 2 rounds, a subpar prospect that hasn't really gotten a chance to develop, and a veteran defenseman who is really more to eat up some salary for the rest of Hampus Lindholm's contract. What do the Boston Bruins get? The Boston Bruins acquire the main asset, which is Cody Curran. Okay, hopefully you guys stuck around past that. Cody Curran, he's 32 years old. He's been in the NHL for a couple of years, but really, actually no, he has yet to play in the NHL. Let me apologize for that. He has been an AHL defenseman throughout his career. He is from Calgary. He really grinded his way through. Got a contract to play with the Anaheim Ducks. He actually played in Hartford. He was a part of the Rangers system in 2014 up until 2016. He ended up going to Europe, came back from the SHL in 2020, where he's been with the Gulls for the past 2 years. And he's been a pretty good defenseman as an AHL guy. But this is, again, an AHL guy. You're not talking about a truly great defenseman. And his contract ends this summer, so it's more of just a roster spot, right, in your depth chart. The bigger one is absolutely Hampus Lindholm here. Hampus Lindholm is one of the most highly regarded defensemen here going into this trade deadline. And now he has been moved. He's 28 years old. He's played in 582 games in the NHL. He's making $5.2 million for the rest of this season. But the Anaheim Ducks have retained 50% of that salary. So that is $2.6 for the Boston Bruins for the remainder of this year. And that kind of evens out for them because they also sent John Moore the other way. So they actually have saved salary, $100K in this trade. And again, that contract ends this summer. So here are my thoughts. So looking at the trade as a whole, it's been the same sentiment for all of the trades we've seen so far. It's pretty much the buyer and the seller. So if you're looking at right now, this is how a lot of people like to evaluate trades, and this is the reality. The team that won the trade got the best player in the trade. Now, that 2022 first round pick, if that ends up being a Matt Barzal at number 23 or 25, nobody's complaining in Anaheim. Yet they gave up Hampus Lindholm, and they couldn't agree to a contract for him. So it makes sense why they made the trade. They get a young defenseman. They get two defensive spots. You know, remember they traded Josh Manson earlier this week. So those are their two slots in the top six potentially, in John Moore and Vakanainen for the remainder of the regular season. And they also pick up multiple draft picks for the next 3 years. 2022 first round pick, a 2023 second round pick, so that's next year. And then in 3 drafts from now, in 2024, they also get the Bruins second round pick. Now, the key thing here for the Ducks is they acquire a lot of draft capital and they acquire a prospect. Now, a lot of people think it's underwhelming that the Ducks did not get 2 first round picks for Hampus Lindholm, but he is a rental. And at the end of the day, unless it was Tampa that was calling, who else was legitimately going to give up 2 first-round picks? It didn't make sense. So we end up seeing this trade. This is a great trade for the Ducks. In the future, they have a prospect, another defenseman to add some veteran leadership back there with Kevin Shattenkirk. They build up the draft capital. For the Bruins, they get a guy that's going to help them immediately. And the thing with Hampus Lindholm that you have to look at is he's had a down season in Anaheim this year. But the good thing is he's probably going to be playing on the top pair with Charlie McAvoy. That is a really, really nice setup there. And he's going to find success with that Bruins defense. Now what you're probably going to see is, I'm trying to think who else is on that pair with Matt Grzelcyk on the second pair. And then probably Derek Forbort goes to the third pair, which, again, they just signed him to that big contract, expecting him to be a top 4 defenseman. That was something that I kind of didn't like last year, and it's kind of showing right now. They're paying, I think, $4 million for a third-pairing defenseman. Not really the best look, especially if you could have used that money to re-sign Lindholm in hindsight. But again, that's hindsight, so it is what it is. And Cody Curran's just another defenseman. But Hampus Lindholm is the best player as of right now when this trade was made. So the Bruins won the trade in that regard. And again, I always say this, the real winner is if the Bruins win the Stanley Cup this year and they win with Hampus Lindholm with the cup over his shoulders, nobody's going to say whether they lost or won this trade in 5 years from now. They won the Stanley Cup in 2022, and they know the window's closing. You're looking at a situation with Bergeron's contract coming to an end this year. They've got some weird things going on with the defense and goaltending, so it's a little bit more unstable than we thought it might be. So they're looking at a season here. They look pretty comfortable right now in terms of making the playoffs, and they go out and make a big addition like this. I think it's all but good stuff here from both sides. Guys, as always, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you again next time.